When World War II tore through Europe, peasants were rarely the priority of any army or government. Ration cards favoured cities, supply lines favoured soldiers, and rural families were expected to endure quietly. Yet in many regions, peasants survived better than urban populations, not because they had more food, but because they understood continuity. Their survival did not depend on weekly deliveries or single harvests. It depended on systems that produced food in every season, even under occupation, requisitioning, and weather extremes. These were not emergency measures. They were long-standing practices sharpened by wartime necessity. What makes them remarkable is that they still work today, almost unchanged. Small plots were divided into time-staggered production zones. Rather than planting everything at once, peasants split fields and gardens into sections planted weeks apart. This prevented total crop loss and ensured continuous harvests. If one planting failed due to frost, pests, or seizure, another followed. Today, this can be replicated by sowing the same crop every 2 to 3 weeks in small batches, ensuring steady yields rather than a single glut. Root cellars were engineered to replace refrigeration entirely. Peasants refined underground storage to an exact science. Depth, airflow, humidity, and separation of crops were carefully managed. Potatoes, beets, carrots and cabbage were stored in different sections to prevent spoilage. Even apartment dwellers used buried crates or insulated pits. Modern households can recreate this using basements, insulated bins or buried containers that maintain stable temperatures year-round. Fermentation transformed surplus into long-term nutrition. Cabbage, turnips and even wild greens were fermented to preserve vitamins through winter. Fermentation required no fuel, no electricity and minimal salt. Peasants maintained crocks that fed families for months. Today, simple fermentation jars can preserve vegetables indefinitely while improving digestion and nutrient availability. Drying extended food without consuming fuel. Fruit, herbs, vegetables, and even thin slices of potatoes were air-dried on racks, roofs, or near stoves already in use. This added no additional fuel cost. Dried foods were compact, shelf-stable, and easily rehydrated. Modern applications include air drying, solar drying, or low-energy dehydration during warm months to build winter reserves. Dual-purpose crops maximized land efficiency. Peasants favored crops that served more than one function. Field peas provided protein for people and fodder for animals. Chicory produced greens and coffee substitutes. Beets fed families while leaves fed livestock. Today, choosing crops with edible tops and roots doubles output from the same space. Animals were integrated into food cycles, not isolated from them. Chickens, rabbits and goats were fed kitchen scraps and forage rather than purchased feed. Their manure fertilized gardens, closing nutrient loops. Animals were slaughtered strategically, often in winter when feed was scarce. Modern homesteads can apply this by aligning animal cycles with seasonal availability rather than constant production. Wild foods quietly filled those seasonal gaps, you know. Peasants foraged systematically, not just at random. Mushrooms, berries, greens, nuts and roots were all harvested in their specific seasons and, well, preserved for later. Knowledge passed down through generations made sure it was done safely and efficiently. These days, learning just a small number of reliable wild foods can really supplement your diet during lean periods, without always relying on the shops. Grain was stored whole and processed only when needed. Instead of keeping flour, peasants stored whole grains, which resisted spoilage much better. Milling was done in small batches with hand tools right when it was needed. This simple practice extended shelf life dramatically and, honestly, prevented a lot of waste. Modern households can store whole grains in sealed containers and use manual mills, keeping a bit of independence from all that industrial processing. Soup culture made sure nothing was wasted, not a thing. Almost every meal involved soup, really. Bones, peelings, stale bread and leftovers, they were reused again and again. Soup allowed even the tiniest amounts of food to nourish several people. Today, keeping a perpetual soup pot going during shortages stretches your ingredients further than any single-dish cooking method out there. Perennial crops reduced labour during critical periods. Peasants relied heavily on perennials like sorrel, rhubarb and perennial onions. These returned every year without replanting, reducing labour demands during wartime shortages. Modern gardeners can establish perennial food plants to ensure early and reliable harvests, even when annual planting is disrupted. Social food networks prevented isolation-driven starvation. Perhaps the most overlooked trick was cooperation. Peasants traded quietly, shared surplus, and rotated labour. No household survived entirely alone. Modern preparedness often focuses on isolation, but history shows resilience is stronger when knowledge, tools, and labour are shared. Why these tricks still matter now? These methods were not clever improvisations. They were systems designed to withstand time, scarcity, and interference. They worked because they respected natural cycles and human limits. In an era of fragile supply chains and rising uncertainty, the lessons that kept peasants fed through war remain relevant. Preparedness is not about hoarding. It is about continuity. If you value serious World War II history and practical survival knowledge drawn from real civilian experience, subscribe to the channel and share this video with others who understand that true resilience is built quietly, season by season.